Hello and welcome back to Walter's War History Archive. Today we're going to be looking at some B-25 Mitchels attacking ground targets in the Pacific. Supposedly this footage was taken around Borneo, but I can't be sure of that. These appear to be J-model B-25s. You could tell because they have a turret located right behind the cockpit rather than further back in the aircraft's fuselage. The other thing is they have a glass nose, and this is called the bombardier nose. Earlier in the clip, there were a couple of planes with solid noses. I wasn't able to see a cannon, so I'm not sure if they were H's or G's. They could have been a retrofitted aircraft. These planes here are likely just the J's with a couple of forward-facing Browning 50s and then the movable gun mount, kind of traditional. As the war went on, some units began to get a little creative and added some additional firepower to the aircraft in the field. Some of these modifications included adding additional machine guns to the wings, and then also to the sides of the fuselage. As these were field modifications, they were not done by engineers, and there was concern that the additional machine guns on the wings were causing stress to the aircraft that could lead to failure. As a result, these field modifications were banned by the US military. Because these field modifications were fairly successful and really improved the firepower of the aircraft, the US military eventually got involved. Fuselage gun pod kits were eventually designed and sent out to the frontline units for installation in the field. A gentleman named Pappy Gunn, go figure, was eventually involved in placing a smaller Sherman tank cannon into the nose of H&G model B-25s. Here's another view of those two solid nose B-25s that we saw earlier. Alright, so getting into the action here, you can see a couple of bombs dropping into that lake and actually skipping across the water. Some of these explosions are pretty darn close to this aircraft, so I'm guessing they were dropped by a plane that flew by just before this one. Okay, strafing attack here. You can see that the tail gunner is doing some work as the smoke is just blasting out of the back of the aircraft. Prior to seeing footage like this, I never really realized that the gunners in these aircraft were so involved in the attacks as well. They didn't really waste any time. Now we're seeing another strafing attack. If you look at the top left corner of the screen, you actually see the muzzle flashes. Those white objects look like birds trying to get the heck out of Dodge. I can't blame them. These B-25 crews did have a little bit of a reputation. I remember a story about a American pilot who was shot down and had to make his way back to Allied lines. He was in Japanese-occupied territory, basically lost most of his stuff on the way down, and all he had was like his service pistol and just a very small amount of rations. He ended up losing most of his clothes. He had to steal a dugout canoe from a Japanese camp, and he was slowly just making his way down the coast because he knew that Marines were going to be landing there soon. Anyway, one of the major things I remember about this story was the description of the B-25 strafers coming in every morning. And these guys would just literally shoot everything they saw. And I'm assuming these are like the later models, with the H model with 8 machine guns in the nose, the turret pointed forward, gun pods on the side, full load of bombs, and a bunch of trigger-happy airmen just waiting to shoot anything they could. Well, the story goes, one morning he was in his dugout canoe and a little bit too far from shore. He couldn't get it ashore in time. Well, his friends in the B-25s didn't disappoint. They proceeded to deconstruct his dugout canoe with a wall of 50 caliber bullets and then headed out into the clear blue yonder, leaving him stranded once again. He did eventually meet friendly forces and was rescued. I've been trying to search for that story for quite a while now. I just can't remember who it was, the name of the pilot. If any of you know, please let me know. Boy, they're really getting pretty close to these trees here. You can see some bullets hitting the water out in front of the aircraft. I'm not sure if that's another B-25 that was shooting at targets or if this is anti-aircraft fire. Dropping a couple more bombs here. You can see the tail gunner is getting a little excited, just ripping up that little village. You can see a shadow of another B-25 to the left of the screen there. And there goes the tail gunner again. I'll bet you this is the same guy that shot up our other friend's dugout canoe. Okay, well that's it for this video. I look forward to doing another B-25 video in the future talking about the various modifications, so look for that coming up. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you on the next one.